Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Mike.
And you're listening to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? The podcast. And this week we'll be reviewing Kingsman, The Golden Shower.
Circle.
What?
The Golden Circle.
Whatever you say, Mike. Hey everyone, and welcome to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? Featuring two guys getting centennial and reviewing movies in a weekly podcast form.
And that synonym comes from no one because we submitted it ourselves because it's our 100th episode.
Yeah!
Thank you so much for listening.
Woo!
That's what centennial means, right? 100.
I got that. 100 years.
No one knows. Googled it before I put it in there to make sure I was putting the right word. I think it applies. I think we're good.
Mm-hmm. But I believe we've been doing this for 100 weeks in a row now.
I can, because
yes,
it's been a lot of
hard
work.
Wait, non-stop?
Yes.
Non-stop.
We haven't taken a break.
100.
Oh my god.
Never take a week off.
We record in batches, so it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah,
we don't have to meet every once a week.
Don't ruin it for
me. By
me.
the way, this beautiful voice.
Don't ruin this illusion.
Yeah.
We do block recording.
You guys warned me to tell you to shut up for time. Every day, that's exactly 4:38. We've been recording for 100 episodes.
On Mondays, too. Right in the middle of the workday.
Mm-hmm.
But let us delay no further in introducing the voice that you've just been hearing for the past minute and a half. Blake Rice has joined us on the podcast.
Thank
for the
you
first
for
time.
having me.
Very special guest. Very glad to have you on, Blake. Blake, I'm going to try and get through all of your things that you do here.
Oh, good.
So we can plug them. You can correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. But I also got it from your website, so you should correct your website.
That's right. Take that up with your website, not me.
Well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Blake is the quintuple threat? Is that more than a triple threat? We've got a lot going on here, Blake. You do a YouTube sketch group, Socially Awkward.
Yes.
Which I think is where Joe found out of you.
So awk.
Wow.
It's the kids on Rowan campus.
Yeah, please.
As Rowan alum.
Try to keep up.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's an actor in short films, features, TV pilots, music videos, and commercials. Mm-hmm. All of that. Ooh. He's a male model.
Not as much as just.
What have you done male modeling wise? What would I know you from?
Sneakers. I did a sneakers campaign.
Very cool.
That was
what
cool.
Brand?
Greats. They're called Greats. Shell Tops.
They're
Brooklyn.
great.
Buzzwords.
Nice.
I did. What? Come on. What did I do? Oh, Love Sack. High-end beanbag chairs where I pretend to be asleep.
Ooh, Love Sack.
That's in catalogs.
Those don't sound like they're for sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, they're not.
Are they like the full body size
Yep.
beanbags? I think I slept on those at a bachelor
There's
party
like every once in a while
weekend.
still, I think I did that shoot 4 years ago.
Right.
And every once in a while someone texts me a picture of like a catalog and it's like me jumping on a beanbag with like a little kid. They keep having a little kid near me.
Join your
So
kids
I'm
on the Love Sack.
It's great.
This Love Sack.
Great for my image. Yeah.
Family love too.
And a bunch of others, I don't know, smaller modeling things.
Very cool. And then more recently, you were the writer-director of the short film To Whom It May Concern.
Yes.
How did that go?
That
Tell us
was,
about that.
That was awesome. It was a 17-minute short film that I was able to produce with like some very close friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And actually, my girlfriend is the lead.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she's an executive producer on it.
Ooh.
Oh, the plot thickens. Here it goes.
It's like Tim Burton, Wynton Carter.
Yeah, and it's about a movie inside a movie. No, it's we're doing the festival hustle now. We're submitting to festivals, and it was like when you go to film school. I don't know did you guys study film?
Didn't study film, no.
Like a minor in film. We did English.
Never mind. When you do English and stuff. So everyone goes to study film or wants to do it, and then you do it in college, right? You you produce stuff in college, and then you get out of school, and you're like, I want to be a director. And then, and literally you just push your dream off a cliff.
Student loans are like,
Yeah, and then, you bartend for 4 years, and then, so I got a chance to actually direct on a SAG film and have like a 30-person crew
That's
and
awesome.
really get my hands into a project that I wrote, and I'm really proud of it, man. It was what I want to do
That's
forever.
awesome. And you said you were we were talking before, your 9 festivals has been accepted
I think we
to?
just got into our 9th.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Yeah,
That is great.
Have all those happened yet? Or you've just been accepted to those 9? How many premieres have you gone to so far?
I think I've been to 4 or 5.
Awesome.
And we have an Atlantic City one, Big Apple Film
Apple, the Shorts
Festival.
Festival.
That's in Michigan. Just kidding.
I thought I knew which one he was talking about, but now I'm not sure.
Then an Atlantic City Film Festival and Fort Lauderdale International, which we didn't hear from for a while. Not to be dreary,
You flying down
but
for that one,
hurricane
or?
stuff. Yeah, that's in November, so I think we're going down.
That'd
Yeah.
be awesome.
Very cool.
Well, guys,
Nice.
thanks for asking. That sounded.
Of course.
Ooh, I
You
feel
got a
good.
dope
feel
press
warm.
kit, man.
Feel warm.
And you got a website for this, right? We can direct people to
Yeah, I'm on.
press about the film.
That'll be on toWhomItMayConcernFilm.com.
.com.
Yeah.
All right. And also more recently, you are in stand-up comedy.
Yes.
And
Boy.
you have a show coming up that you might want to tell us about.
I do, yeah.
Boy, do I.
Yeah, do you hear that stress and pressure coming through my voice right now into the sciences of computers and mics? I'm at the Triad Theater on Saturday, October 14th at 7 p.m.
Nice.
Yes.
That's coming right up.
That is coming right up.
You're headlining that show.
I am.
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I'll do like 40 minutes, maybe 45 if I'm feeling frisky.
Nice.
Um,
That's a lot, too.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
It's a good chunk. And it's cool because I kind of can do I won't go under 30, but I could do like 32 an hour at that show, and they won't yell at me or drag me off stage. And I'm excited for it. It's hosted by Paul Schisler, a good buddy of mine.
Okay.
It's got 2 featured comics on that we're waiting for them to sign off on the deal. So
Great.
those are TBA.
Nice.
Okay.
We'll find out.
You
Yeah.
headlined before, or are you like super nervous for this now?
No, I have. I've done the Triad twice.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool.
And I've done like the Metropolitan Room in New York and the Delancey Broadway Comedy Club. This place, the Ella Lounge, is kind of what first let me have my own shows at.
When did you start doing comedy?
Stand up?
What? Yeah.
I think so. I graduated. First time I ever did stand up was at Rowan University when TJ Miller came to town.
Ooh.
Okay.
And because of Socially Awkward, our sketch comedy show, my buddy Ricky and I hit him up and we're like, dude, you're coming in. Can we open for you?
Right, yeah.
Maybe we even I think we might ask him to be in a sketch. And we
You
were
have
like,
to be ambitious.
I think we were like, dude, do you want to be in a sketch? And he was like, why don't you just open for me? And we were like, oh my God. And then, we did a 10-minute set together in front of
That's really
like a
cool,
bunch
yeah.
of people. Yeah, and it
that.
was cool. But yeah, now I'm at the Triad. So 2 years, I think. Did I answer that or dodge it?
You just did
yeah,
now.
you just answered it.
Two, 2 years or so. Yep.
That's awesome.
Cheers, guys.
To be headlining shows after 2 years, I feel like more people can't say that than can.
Yeah, you learn like it's tough to work on like a larger chunk of stand up when like the only outlets are like 5-minute mics or
Yeah.
10-minute mics. So you don't it's sometimes difficult to like fully arc together a 40-minute show.
Right.
When you go to like, I want to workshop this joke, and you go to a mic and it's like, are you 5 minutes and your audience is 3 stand-up comedians waiting to get their mic time.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm gonna go into this very like, I'm gonna be playing a gerbil on stage in 2 weeks.
Right, yeah.
In the middle of a 10-minute bit. Like I'm gonna workshop half of that in front of no one with no context. Like this is tough.
Well, you got an hour and a half here. So
Good.
go to
Just-
town.
I'm going to try out all my material. I'm gonna be
Good. The second act was rough, but he roped us back in.
Like, I don't know how that applies to the Kingsman Golden Circle.
Speaking
but I
of
like
Kingsman,
it.
have you been to Starbucks lately?
Yeah.
Grande, large, they all mean this. Or venti, whatever. I could never be a comedian. I can't even memorize all the Starbucks
Most of being a
sizes,
comedian
yes.
is quoting comedians.
Okay,
So
yes.
you're off to a great start.
Yes, nice.
And then I'm not done yet because you are the co-host of the Cold Read podcast. as
Yes.
well. We're still going. We're just
Another
listing things
podcast.
that Blake
I'm
says
sorry.
still.
He's had enough, Mike.
You're killing him.
Like in 4th grade, he won a potato sack race against Joey Achman. Joey Achman is now working on Shawshank 2.
But tell us about the Cold Read podcast.
Cold Read Podcast is one of my favorite things that I'm doing right now. It's co-hosted by Ricky and Ryan and I from SOWAC, still a good buddy of mine. And once a week, one of us write an original screenplay. So 10 to 20 pages. Then we have on 2 special guests. And then whoever hosts and wrote that episode assigns roles to the 3 people sitting down, and they have to cold read the script. So the host will be reading the screen description, and then you go through the whole script, you break it down, pick best actor, have an award speech, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
And
That's
the scripts are always like genre bendy. You know, we did one of mine was Castaway 2, Castaway Again, where Tom Hanks's plane goes down again, and he's stuck again on an island. We do like a film noir spoof. It's like it's a good time. You guys should come on. It'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
That's a super great idea for a podcast.
That is super original,
Because
yeah.
like I can think of so many times like reading scripts for the first time in like school, and just like that's a naturally funny experience. Like people
definitely.
reading words they haven't read before. There's slip ups that are going to happen, and then as they're working stuff out, and then it gets you guys like writing stuff regularly. Which is
it's great to
awesome,
have real
just for
deadlines
practice
and
Right.
Definitely. I've noticed a big change in, I mean, having to pump out it's almost like writing a pilot every other week
Yeah.
right
Wow.
now.
Yeah.
So it's always just one day of not sleeping, drinking coffee,
Right, yeah.
you know, sprinting to the toilet like 6 times.
How often do you guys do
And
it?
out comes a script. Huh?
Like once a month or
Once a week.
once a week? Oh God.
Yeah. We're
I
not
know- I
in
know
100
that
episodes,
grind.
100 episodes. And,
Well, that's like I feel like I rarely write like, by rarely I mean never write like film reviews. But like because there's a deadline on this, I'm like I gotta fucking say shit like.
but that's good prep though. You should be like,
It
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
you guys are working. That's good to have that deadline, especially creatively.
Exactly.
It's demanding.
So where can people find the Cold Read podcast?
You can find the Cold Read podcast on iTunes. Under the podcast section, just type in the Cold Read. And I think we have a website, the Cold Read. Is it Cold Read Show?
All right.
ColdReadShow.com?
We'll find that link.
We'll find it out.
We'll post it.
Go to iTunes. It's on iTunes, the Cold Read.
Yeah.
At the Cold Read
Cold Read Show
podcast.
is not it.
The Cold Read Show is not that. Just shout out to us
One
day.
down.
Or the Cold Read Show is not it as well.
Maybe it doesn't
We'll find
exist.
We'll find it.
Nah.
It'll be in the links below when you're listening to this.
Great.
We'll get our
Whether
shit
it's
sorted
on
out before
YouTube
that.
or SoundCloud or what have you.
So guys, this is Bud Lake.
Still, yeah.
Are you from Bud Lake?
No, I moved
No.
here 3 years ago.
Really? Is there anyone from Bud Lake? Can I wait? I was driving here and I drove up a big hill, and then I roll over this hill and there's an entrance to an apartment complex to my left, and there is an old, very old Indian man sitting on the curb. And he's just slowly waving at me. It was the most Get Out experience because I don't know where the hell I am. Bud Lake sounds like where Jason grew up. And I'm driving, and this guy's just like not blinking, staring at me. And so I just give him like the salute back to him, and then he does this.
Pump your bra.
Is that the pump the brakes?
I think so,
know.
yeah.
But I wasn't going that fast.
Too fast for him.
Yeah, I think I was too fast
Too
for
fast
him.
for the man sitting on the
He gave me the
sidewalk
pump,
waving.
and so I was like, "Does he want me to stop? Was he waving like he knew me? I don't know. Is that someone's dad? Do we know who that
my
is?"
That does sound like the beginning of like a horror movie. Like, stop your. I don't want to devolve into a Native American impression, but like you're about to run over like some like burial grounds or something, and it's like,
Oh, he
I
wasn't
gotta get
even-
to a podcast, and then it's a haunted
Said the
podcast.
millennial.
Yeah.
No, he was not.
Whatever,
he was,
old man.
He was
First
not.
they took his land.
Now we'll take their life.
Oh man, this is good.
He wasn't Native American.
Oh, okay,
He was Indian,
okay.
from what I could tell. Oh man, it was
no,
probably just like a
so
tan
we
Italian guy, and I'm like, this place is covered in Indians. No, yeah, and then I pulled into another complex, and there was like a group of 7 to 10 teenage girls with clipboards at the corner. You're like, oh yes, our PAs. like what is that?
They were there to direct you to your
I
apartment.
just slowly, and I'm in a rental. I rented a shout out to my boy Tim at Enterprise. I rented a
Shout out to
sick Dodge Charger today. It's all black, so I look like
sick.
I feel like I look like an undercover cop.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I was getting the no cops here.
Right. Yeah.
Get out.
I don't know. I'm glad to be here, boys, and I've met the whole
Glad to
town.
have you.
Yeah.
Glad you're coming.
Met our dad and our 7 PAs.
Yeah. It's just like a teen girl trend now to have a clipboard with you, and
It's very hot.
My little clipboard.
I think
Kylie Jenner's doing it, so
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I almost signed up for something. It was like they were gonna sign me up for something cool. Tell me about this.
I think we're going to drink some real cheap champagne. If I can open this up. This is...
well, it's not Verdi.
It's not Verdi. I
that's,
was looking for Verdi. I couldn't find it. But this is better because it'll actually pop. Verdi just has like the screw off.
Pop it.
This is...
Pop it. Pop it.
Lancert,
Pop it.
a product of Spain.
Twist it. Pull it. Bop it.
No!
Remember the Bop It with like 10 different to-dos?
Bop It Extreme, absolutely.
No, that was too much. That was too much for me.
Bop
much to do.
It, Bop It Extreme.
I'm trying to workshop this bit right now. I'm also very frightened. Pointing
It
into
doesn't do anything when this comes off, right? That's when
pointing into the kitchen, Mike. I don't want to die today.
Hit it. Aim it at the camera. What are you doing? Aim it right at the lens.
I'm super glad that didn't come our way.
We're all the way across.
Yeah, that nailed something on the
That felt
wall.
good.
Sounded good. I hope.
So, could you romance this champagne for us? Sell it.
Yeah. Can
It
you
was
feed me?
$10 and it was in the bottom bin at Sandy's Wine and Liquor Emporium.
I feel like you're...
It's an estate bottled... when I got this, it was high rated but cheap. It was like best bang for your buck or something was like the label, which probably means they had to get rid of it because they had a whole case of it left. So they're
No
Right.
way.
Like, it's you and your wife's, like, 10-year anniversary, but your family business is bankrupt. Like, you buy things.
Very dark. May I pour you one?
I would love one.
So this is a Brut, right? Which is different than champagne. I believe Brut.
Oh, I thought that was one of the brands.
No,
So
a
much
Brut.
harder.
A Brut
What
is
is
a Brut is. I think I could be wrong here. I think it's like the German version. Prosecco is Italian.
Okay.
So if sparkling wine. So French is champagne. I think Brut is German. I could be
Sounds
completely
like a German
wrong.
word.
Right?
It says it's a product of Spain though, so it's like a Spanish version of a
Oh,
German,
it could
a
just be
German
Spanish,
version.
or I could be
Brut
totally
definitely sounds German.
full
though.
of shit. Cheers, guys, to your 100th
Cheers.
episode. Thank you for
May
having
there
me.
be 100 more. Oh God.
Oh yeah.
What have I done?
Jesus, Mike. You didn't have to bring down the mood with that.
You guys are gonna have 100 more. I think you'll have 300.
Oh yeah.
Did you know different champagne bottles, like the official names of them are like named after biblical kings? Like, I can't think of biblical kings now, but they're all like different sizes are named
David, Solomon, Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
Did you know you were sitting down with the? That was some
biblical
crazy
scholar.
and impressive.
Really? Yeah. I
He was like, I don't
Thanks
know,
a lot,
you
18
dumbass.
years of Sunday school.
Nebuchadnezzar, Solomon, David,
Dumbledore. Gandalf.
Yeah. You just brought Gandalf to a Solomon
To
fight.
a knife fight.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Let me give you this IMDb description, then you can
Honestly,
walk us through your notes.
IMDb does not have a great history of being accurate. Let's hear it. All right, IMDb, let's hear the story.
When their headquarters are destroyed and the world is held hostage, the Kingsman's journey leads them to a discovery of an allied spy organization in the U.S. These two elite secret organizations must band together to defeat a common enemy.
That was too long.
Too long, but accurate.
Yeah, it was accurate. Yeah, but let me run through some notes and then we'll get into some freeform discussion. That was cute. So Kingsman, The Golden Circle, directed by Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn has also directed Layer Cake, Stardust, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and Kingsman, The Secret Service. The Golden Circle is obviously a sequel to Kingsman, The Secret Service, which is based on a comic book series titled The Kingsman, created by Dave Gibbons and Mark Miller. The film features Colin Firth, Taron Egerton, Mark Strong, Edward Holcroft, and Sophie Cookson reprising their roles from the first film, and Julianne Moore, Halle Berry, Pedro Pascal, Elton John, Channing Tatum, and Jeff Bridges joined the cast for The Golden Circle. I have some more notes, but you know what? actually, I'll just do like one last bullet point before we get into the discussion. But literally 2 episodes ago, we were talking about Logan. We're reviewing Logan Lucky, and I said, there's so much fucking John Denver in this year's films. Okay. There was Annie, I think, by John Denver, was used in both Okja, which we reviewed, the Netflix original. Definitely check out that episode. And Free Fire, which we didn't even touch on, but it came out this year. Mm-hmm. And then in this film, we hear Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver. It's also a fucking... It's not just played, but it's like sung by a character. And it's like a crucial plot point in this, Alien Isolation, and Lucky Logan. Like, it's a little fucking, like, ridiculous at this point.
John Denver has a killer agent.
Alien Isolation.
I even wrote Alien Isolation.
That sounds like a cool
Is that
movie.
the video game? That is the video game.
Alien Isolation is a very dark documentary about border control. We'll be reviewing that in the 200th episode.
Episode 200.
But yeah, basically, if you look it up, which I did, I wrote a really funny letterboxed list that only 2 people liked. I said films in which I forget exactly how I put it.
Take Me Home, Country Roads.
It was like films in 2017 where a character sings John Denver's "Take Me Home."
And what
Country
is with
Roads.
this John Denver revival in 2017?
It's a John Denver Renaissance, baby.
Yeah.
It's but Karen Hahn of the Vulture wrote a piece titled "Why is John Denver's music in so many movies this year?" And basically, the John Denver estate recently partnered with a new team to represent them, to quote, make licensing a priority. So John Denver's kids want money.
Oh.
And my God, are they fucking making it? It's
Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's all the
how much
interesting
do you have to
stuff.
pay more money for it to be like a crucial plot point in the movie, like not just playing in the background, like to have your characters
Sing it?
specifically talk about this song and sing it?
This movie opens with
question.
like a bagpipe rendition of Country Roads, and I was like,
The soundtrack is
gotta be
Country
kidding
Roads
me.
all the
Yeah.
time in this movie.
What is the even? They're not from like. I don't even really know where this song fits into this movie entirely. Like they're
When they don't go to
West Virginia.
like it made sense in Logan Lucky because it was between West Virginia and North Carolina.
Right.
But they go to Kentucky in this. They don't go to
It's just
West
like if
Virginia.
a bunch of British film composers
Yes.
like Googled song America.
Uh-huh.
And then it was just like John Denver, and they were like, perfect, that sounds like a guy.
And this was also the first film to ever feature a licensed Prince track, besides Purple Rain. Prince is barely cold, and they're already John Denvering his estate.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
Prince was pretty strict on, like, he didn't want any of his music, like, used in movies, and now he's dead, and they're like, put it out there.
They're like, God.
Cha-ching!
Yeah. Now that's over with.
Now that guy's dead.
Oh, God. Where to start with this movie?
Have either of you seen Kingsman: The Secret Service?
Yes.
Yep.
Wait, you haven't seen the
Have not.
first?
No.
You haven't seen the first?
No.
Walk out. Well,
Okay.
Take over. You're the co-host.
Okay. The first Kingsman is one of my top pleasant surprise action movies.
That's what I've heard from pretty much
here's
everyone
my
who's seen it.
background: is I watched the first one the same day that I watched this one.
Okay.
So I'm not like totally.
Pleasantly surprised.
Well, I said I can't imagine seeing this in theaters. I would have been like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know.
It just like you don't realize it's rated R for a little bit in the first one.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
they start like, saying the F word and like, I guess he has sex with the princess at the end of the first one. You're like,
Right.
oh, okay. It's a little
Nice.
bit more. They're taking
Butt
some,
sex.
like, now I'm sold. This is good content for Blake. But no, very pleasantly surprised about the first one. So I was excited about the second, which apparently just got like 80 times the budget. Did it feel like that?
Yeah, it definitely did. There was apparently a 3-hour and 40-minute cut of this film, which explains a lot.
Really?
So they cut like an hour to make this.
The studio almost cut the movie into Kingsman Golden Circle Part 1 and Part 2, which kind of sounds like a nightmare, but also makes a lot of sense. Like, there's definitely, like, there's a few subplots in this movie where I feel like they're kind of interrupted and not fully fleshed out. Like some of the editing is a bit odd in this movie too. But yeah, if you thought the movie was too long,
it is.
Picture it being 3 hours and 40 minutes.
How long was it?
I want to say it's like 2:20 maybe.
Yeah.
It's at least 2.5 hours.
20 minutes.
2 hours, 20 minutes, and then like 30 antagonists. Like, who is a bad guy in that movie? And
there's a lot of bad guys.
Every once in a while, there's just like he's like, I'm a bad guy too now.
Yeah. I feel like I was okay with everything until like everyone was fighting at the end, and it was like a little too long of a.
The middle, I think, is where it really, really drags.
Really?
In this movie.
A lot of people didn't like the first half, which I was into it. There is like a big opening action kind of set piece in the whole taxi kind of
I walked in a little late to this. I walked in during the car chase. How much do I miss before?
I'll tell you what you missed. The opening credits happen, and then he walks out of a building with his tuxedo on. He fixes his cuff, and then the that happens. Literally, it's like Kingsman fight scene for 80 minutes. But I kind of liked that a lot because I was like, "What am I in the theater for? I don't care about any character development.
Yeah.
I want to see them try for jokes and have really dope action sequences."
I did love that. That first car chase was. I came into this a little cynical because I had heard good things about Kingsman: The Secret Service, but I was like, I don't know if I believe that that's really a good movie without seeing it. It looks like it's just too over the top for me, and then this looks like it's going to be even more over the top. But then I think that's just a genuinely good action sequence in the car chase scene, especially when he's like spinning around that like roundabout, or I don't know what they call them over in London.
A roundabout. Oh, yeah.
Roundabouts there.
Jolly governor.
Yeah, I think they call it an oi and fish and chips. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna go well with our European market that we just insulted.
There is none.
Yeah.
There's barely a New Jersey market.
But it does have like a big opening set piece, and then we kind of get nothing for like the rest of the first half of the movie. The rest of the half of the
Yeah, tell me what happened after that, because try to say what happened after that sequence. The place gets blown up, and then what? Because
everybody he knows dies, and then he just kind of goes on living as if nothing.
Well, I'm calling it.
He doesn't act like his
the
best
girl's
friend died.
The girl's alive.
Right.
The girl's way alive.
But he doesn't know that.
The agent, the girl,
his friend, agent,
the one that's hotter than his girlfriend.
What? 8 times hotter. Like, what are you doing? She's 8 times hotter, and she dies right away. She's going to be in the last one, and he's going to love her.
Colin Firth was shot at point blank range, and they like saved him. So
yeah,
I kind of wish they hadn't spoiled that in the trailers, because that's almost a decent plot point, like him coming back. As much as I think the amnesia stuff is really boring, but him finally like coming back at the end of this movie, or just revealing that he's alive. Right. But in the trailers, he's in the trailers like fighting people, and it's like, oh, he's back. So it's like that is totally spoiled by the trailers of this movie.
I did like Colin Firth. I liked the bit they kept doing of him like losing his mind, but he's back. He remembers he's a spy again, but then he keeps seeing butterflies and like that kind of stuff. I thought they could have pushed that comedically a little bit more. He should have had to go undercover and had to like been seeing like more preposterous stuff and trying to keep his cool. Yeah. I thought they had enough juice there to run in a little more runway of that joke. What'd you think?
They did. Yeah, there's a lot of parts in like both Kingsman movie where I'm kind of like, who like flips the coin to decide like whether this is going to be cool action or kind of funny? You know, like it's the whole they really. I told, just because I saw the first movie and then went into this movie, I told Mike, I was like, "Did you end up watching the first movie?" He's like, "No," and I was like, "Oh man," because like the whole first half of the movie is them kind of like reintroducing like all these characters from the first movie. It was kind of like the princess, and then it was like all his friends who are completely like throwaway characters in like the first movie, and they're kind of like, let's bring him back. The villain with the robotic arm is kind of like, there's a huge history with him where like
I think it worked all right though. Like I think the problem with this is not the sequel holding up in context. Like
definitely.
I didn't see the first one, and I was never confused about what was going on. So even if they are rehashing it, that's good, because then the movie stands alone. Like someone like me can go in and see this,
of course,
and not be like, what happened in the first movie that I'm missing? Like,
Yeah.
It made sense to me. But I think the problem is that not seeing the first one, I wasn't prepared for how ridiculous this type of movie is.
It's way more ridiculous than the first one, though.
Yeah,
But I think if I had that first one to like lube me up, you guys will have to correct me. In the first one, he starts off as like a normal guy, and then they kind of bring him into like the agency. I'm assuming
he has to eat. Nobody wants him in Kingsman, but Colin Firth is kind of like his sponsor, or like he's the, I don't know.
So he starts off living a normal life, and then he's introduced to this crazy.
His father, his dad was a Kingsman, and sacrifices himself to save Colin Firth. So Colin Firth always like has been like the fairy godmother to Eggsy, right?
So when somebody in the Kingsman dies, all of the Kingsmen are asked to put in like a bid for who they think should be the new replacement Kingsman, and they bring all these people from like Ivy League schools and everything, who like this isn't like that off, like it's not that fantastical for them, where like he's kind of like the first movie's great at like building up.
He's like low class British, right? Like he's smoking and doing drugs with his friends. That's something that I think this movie does well. I understood that without seeing the first movie.
Yeah,
that's how you're like, oh, he's an authentic guy. He still got his. He didn't forget about fitteds. Like that's it.
And track jackets.
Yeah.
The first one does a great job of like sort of establishing this like kind of abusive home life, and this also again the class structure within where he lives and everything. But I really like the idea of kind of like, let's take somebody from like Train Spotting and put them in James Bond kind of. Like, it's a really cool premise. Yeah. And again, they've moved on in the sequel a little bit.
I think if I had been like lubed up a little bit by that first movie of like, okay, like here is this universe that they're in. Because I get all the characters. It's not totally
fantastical though. Like they have like some pretty realistic, like most of the first movie is him trying out for Kingsman, and it's like, it's pretty... I don't know. They do some pretty ballsy stuff, but yeah.
I read up, isn't the villain, it's like Samuel L. Jackson, and he wants to like hack the world with like SIM
gives
cards.
Everyone free internet or something, and then
he wants to turn them into like zombie.
And his girlfriend's on is Lady Deathstrike, but just with her feet.
Yes.
She has razor skate for boots.
Yeah.
For shoes. She has no legs. She has no feet.
And Kingsman has like interesting antagonist where it's kind of like Samuel L. Jackson was like kind of like this Elon Musk character who had all the money in the world, so he could give free data out to everyone via SIM card or whatever. But obviously, that was part of his scheme. And but he ultimately wanted to kind of like wipe out the population so that he could save the Earth. Kind of, he was like he's kind of like global warming's at a rapid pace. So we're what's it called? This is more of a take on like the war on drugs and everything,
which is weird.
So they have, but I'm never really the antagonists are always kind of like my least favorite part. I wasn't like super crazy about Julianne Moore in this movie,
but that should be like they should be the most interesting.
They should.
So that's kind of my knock on.
Right.
I like Samuel more than I like Julianne Moore. That kind of seemed like they were like, okay, let's make it a girl, and this time, and she's gonna do drugs, right? Like, I thought that was a little easy. It all just seemed, and like, okay, she got to have a style. What would be a diner? Great, she likes diners.
Right, she likes like the 50s,
it just seemed a little plug and play.
Yeah, they like mashing these cultures. Like the first one was kind of like, what if Samuel Jackson was kind of like this Elon Musk character, but he was also kind of like a b-ball kind of like, a b-boy or whatever.
And he had a really bad lisp too.
Yeah. The lisp was a little weird for me because I was like, are they making fun of like homosexuals or like?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he's like, and then they like blatantly just put a scene where he like smacks like the girl's butt or whatever, and it's kind of like, I'm not gay. In his list.
And then he looks in the camera and does this. And then we all were like, oh.
I might have sex with her tonight.
Yeah.
That's literally what he sounds like.
So the second one, they blow up, Julianne Moore blows up. She just like does drugs. What I think the movie as a whole does well is that it doesn't spend time on stuff, like it knows what it is. It doesn't try too hard. Like it's not trying to win Oscars. It knows what it is. So it doesn't really try. Like Julianne Moore, what does she do? She sells drugs and she's rich and a bad guy. Great. And they spend like 3 minutes on that, and we're like, okay, keep moving.
There's also that awful.
She's like ruled by vanity, and she wants to publicly do it. She wants to be part of the public domain.
And we're all just like, sure.
That awful voiceover though, when they're like first flying over the jungle, and it's her talking to.
Yeah. That was pretty bad.
Was the sound mixing bad? Because I felt there were several voiceovers or like a lot of ADR. I was like, really? Like it seemed pretty phoned up. We're getting talked to by a...
Was that the camera or the...
Let me
Joe, inspect that out.
Let me check this real quick.
But yeah, when they're like flying over the jungle and she's talking to the one new recruit and the old guy.
Yeah.
I also did not like that whole thing with the...
Do you have extra batteries?
Right behind you, yeah. Cool. With the new recruit, that whole sequence.
Oh, of the...
Like prove that you're loyal to me by killing the guy who
eating him
brought
as a
you
cheeseburger.
Here. Yeah.
It
was just it was too much of a contrast of oh, she's this sweet Stepford wife, 50s, lover, and then she's gonna grind this guy up in the thing. I also feel like they didn't really lean into that hard enough. For a movie that's got an R rating, is pretty violent in other places. When he pushes the guy down into the grinder, there's no blood spatter whatsoever, and then the stuff that comes out is just there's no sound effects of bones crushing as you're putting a guy into a grinder, and it just comes out with this clean 95% lean ground beef.
Yeah, that was pretty lean beef though. I would have eaten that burger and I wouldn't have been such a puss about it.
It wasn't crazy oh no, I'm gonna it wasn't this guy.
If you're gonna shove a guy into a meat grinder, shove a guy into a meat grinder. Let me have blood splatter.
Yeah, in Casino Royale, he's getting his nutsack rocked by a torture device, and this one the guy had to eat a medium rare burger that looked delicious.
Right? It's kind of would you rather have somebody pour molten fucking gold on you, or just eat another guy? That's it.
Wait, was it a choice or?
No. I'm just saying his reactions were oh no, I gotta eat this burger, and he's yeah, fucking tap me up, bro.
That first stuff was crazy, but this is all pretty routine for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna work a chess piece into it, I'm just gonna fill it out right
it's
here.
It's not done yet. Yeah. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna come back and get the rest done, and it's gonna get filled in. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, I gotta get color right here. Yeah.
The robot stuff was weird too.
She's obsessed with loyalty in humans, but then she also has robots. I was just kind of pick one.
I thought the robots were a reason why the movie won't hold up. Because you're not going to want to look... it just was robot dogs. Didn't think it stuck. It didn't even stick to the theme of...
It doesn't fit the 50s
It doesn't fit the 50s thing. And also, it was just it was just kind of cheap. It seemed cheap. It seemed rushed.
Oh, definitely.
It seemed easy. You're doing the Bond villain... thing, right? They have tropes. They have the intro scene where they prove how bad they are, and oh wow, she's for real bad. And then she has her cool, interesting henchman. And I just thought you could robot dogs. You're gonna watch that in 10 years and be this is really bad. You're not scared by this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, not crazy about Elton John in this movie at all.
Me too.
He's funny, just the fact that he's in it, but that joke wears out so quickly in this movie.
In 2 seconds. It would have been great as one cutaway.
Yeah. I have Elton John and he plays the piano.
If he was just the guy in the 4 stages diagram of what she was when she hacked into the world.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in the 4th one, you'll turn into Elton John. And he was just there. Then that would have been great. But they just, and then I was they're going to make him a secret Kingsman undercover or reveal. I thought they were going to reveal something like that, which they almost did.
And he like him cursing in that stages of the whatever thing, that was the only time that he was really funny besides the initial joke of just Elton John's in this movie. I know that guy, haha, big joke. And then it was just he was wearing out his welcome the entire time, and they kept doing the famous celebrity cursing thing, that got really, really old really, really quickly.
It seemed like fan service. It was very pandering to the obviously an English film.
Anytime they really cut away to that whole secret base, I was just kind of here we go again, I don't know.
Or even and then the worst combination of it was when you had the dogs, when they would scan people and decide whether they're gonna, and they look at Elton John, it's Elton John friend. That was just 2 horrible decisions in this movie in one awful scene.
But
and then he's in the fucking wedding at the end. That made no sense to me whatsoever.
That wedding
saved his life. I feel like what if you're gonna
save Colin Firth's life? He didn't save Eggsy.
No, I mean,
right?
They rescued Elton John from the...
So they asked him to play the wedding.
It would have been so funny
Just invite
if Elton John wasn't in the movie at all.
That's a typical trope.
He was just held captive and forced to play piano for like an evil villain, and now it's like, oh, now you're free. Come play at my wedding. Like maybe he just wants to chill and be invited to the wedding.
Yeah.
It was a bit much.
It would have been great if Elton John wasn't in the whole movie, but was at the wedding.
Just random.
Not playing. Just like a quick cutaway to him, like just being like a +1 at this wedding. But you didn't say anything. I mean, like that's all B story arcs, everything else going on. So, but a testament to the movie is that the lead and the main premise kept you in, right?
Oh, definitely. Right. Yeah. And what else was I gonna say? Yeah. So, I mean, we have this. I mean, to set it up, or the setup for the motivation for this film is pretty extreme. What we're just talking about, the antagonist organization, the Golden Circle, shoots a series of missiles that kills JB, the friend that he guilted into dog watching, and the entire, like, Kingsman organization.
Which may or may not have been the friend from the first one. We don't really care.
Yeah, we don't really know.
Is it a different actor?
I think it's just the kind of an added guy in there.
It's friend 2 on the call sheet.
Yeah. It doesn't... This whole, like, thing where... There's so much. That's so many people dying, and it never really feels entirely earned. It happened so early, and it never entirely feels like dealt with. I mean, they have that scene
kill
where
the entire like table of Kingsman elders or whatever those people are. They kill his best friend, the secret agent hot chick who should be his girlfriend.
Right.
And then they kill his like actual like real world best friend. And then he has like they have one scene where they comically cry about it while they're drinking the Statesman whiskey. And like that's it. They don't mention it like really after that at all.
Yeah, but I like
they have like
that.
one line where he's like, what about Brandon or whatever, and that's really, he doesn't mention like that girl who I assume was a bigger part of the first movie, right?
Right. She actually is. I mean, that's.
Do they kiss in the first one, him and her?
I don't think so, but there's definitely there's
Will they,
some
won't
sort of
they?
thing.
Will they, won't they? Tension going on.
Ross Rachel kind of thing.
Okay, good.
Ross Rachel of Kingsman.
My favorite thing in this movie was when. Whenever it gets to a point where like, oh man, like he's like, this makes me feel some really strong emotions right now. I'm about to be really sad and tell you what my character does when he's sad. And then he'll be like, shut up. No, remember your training. Skip past that. And it was like, oh great. We don't want to waste our time with any emotion. We get back to the hot girls and the action. Like every time you just be like, no, don't worry about feelings. Training. And you'd be like, okay, cool.
Should we put emotions in this part of the screenplay?
Nope.
Yeah, let's just put something about his training and we can get right back on track.
Great.
Yeah.
I dug that. I was a fan.
No, but the death of, I think her name was like Roxy or something, was especially sad because the rest of this movie is kind of this, and we'll talk about a really interesting scene in this film later.
The scene.
Yes, but the rest of this movie is kind of this like misogynist like sausage fest. There's even a scene. What's it called? Like we were just talking about. Like when the missile is coming for her, she kind of looks like she like dodges it, right? Like Roxy in like the Kingsman mansion. Like they kind of have a scene of her getting up and running away.
But the whole mansion blows.
Yeah,
but it hits the ground.
Yeah, that's true. It could like fall in or something, and
I'm
she
sure
could
that
be
was
saved.
all created after, so they might have, we're gonna make a third movie, so let's.
Is it already greenlit? Like, is there already a third movie
I think
shot?
so. It's in talks. I think this made enough money. Like I think
Did it do really well?
Yeah, I think it did.
I think it
well.
actually beat it at the box office.
It beat it its second week. Its opening week, it was #1. I think it came back.
Is that what the sequel's called?
It came back. Guys, we're not done. It came back.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
John Mayer was like taking submissions over Twitter of like what the It sequel should be called, and there was like It 2 like TOO exclamation point, or someone just did like IIT like.
Oh, that's good. That one's good. We joke around about a sequel for To Whom It May Concern, but To Whom It May Concern, and like a big like cheesy red number 2 on a white background, like rom-com style.
I think the whole game changed when the Fast and Furious came out with Too Fast, Too Furious. Mm-hmm. How do you top that?
It's 2 twos.
3 Fast, 3 Furious, and then of course there's 4 Fast. I'm a Fast and the Furious fan. Not like I watch everyone.
Yeah, no, I would
You
say
like
I'm into it. When we reviewed it, I was like, yeah, we're gonna review it. Yeah, because I mean, we have to pick what movies we are going to do, and it was a fucking huge. I think that's
a mega
still
success.
Yeah,
There's going
especially
to be many more Fast and Furious,
especially
movies.
like worldwide. Like we love that here in America, but like worldwide, they're like
love
fast
it.
cars. You know, like it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
I enjoyed the new one. I enjoy all of them.
Yeah,
Rest
me
in
too.
peace, Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Aw.
It's been a long time.
It's been. But I'll see you again.
I'll see-
I'll tell you all about it when
Yeah,
I see you
I
again.
forgot the lyrics. I was
No.
You know you made it when Wiz Khalifa makes
And
a
some YouTube kid.
Puth.
Puth.
Charlie Puth.
Puth.
Yes.
Great name.
Get the Puth on this track.
You know what this needs?
Needs a little bit of Puth.
Probably gonna Puth it.
Puth in the booth.
Yeah.
He's about to take a Puth in the booth.
Oh, God. Kingsman.
So yeah, you know your boy just took a Puth in the booth. That's what Charlie Puth is. He's a kid who just makes like poop jokes.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure he loves that.
yeah, sure, I'm sure if we
sure
had him
middle
on,
school
he'd
was
be
a
like,
blast
yeah.
for him.
He's on SoundCloud right now listening to this fuming.
It's Puth.
Yeah. It's Puth, guys. That made $8 billion, that song. That song was on the top
Did
of the
it?
charts for so long.
It's one of the most viewed YouTube videos as well, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it shows how ingrained that franchise was, like, in our culture, that we were able to have the Paul Walker Memoriam song at the top of the Billboard charts for months.
It's a fire song.
yeah.
though.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's the soundtrack to Fast and Furious 8,
It is.
right?
7.
8? I don't know.
I always get 7 and 8 mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm a 6 guy, but, you know.
Wait, was it Fast 8 or was this the one that was Fast and Furious?
Oh, maybe
was that
it
7?
was.
They've done so many weird things with the namings for those movies.
Yeah, I don't even want to look it up.
No, it's important.
We don't want to fall down the fast rabbit hole.
This entire rest of this review is just going to be about the Fast and Furious.
Just pivot for a little bit.
In how, like, in the first one, they're listening to a Ludacris song, but then they see Ludacris in the second movie, and, like, do they know that they were listening to Ludacris, or is this guy a different one?
Who were they listening to in this universe? So, yeah, I mean, we have the whole thing with everyone fucking dying in this movie and then not really touching on it. That's probably, like, my biggest complaint with this, is that I feel like that's better motivation for this movie and a better character arc.
But, Mike, they're British, and they have to keep a stiff upper lip
Yeah,
about
but that
death
doesn't really
of all
work.
their friends.
Because then
That's a great point.
the only real, like, character progression we get is, like, he doesn't want to marry his wife in the beginning, and then the other hot chick dies, and then he's willing to marry her at the end. Like,
Yeah.
And there's nothing that really happens besides, like, she was in danger, and I guess maybe he realizes he's willing to marry her now, but we don't really get shown that. It's just kind of like, he's different in the beginning of the movie, he's different in the end, but we don't actually get progression. We just get A and B, you know, and that's not what character progression is in a movie.
Yeah, I also just I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't care about his relationship with her. She's so bland.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They should have picked a different arc to be the, you know, what makes him different at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
You know, paying tribute to his fallen, you know, or maybe like the end is something to do more with the Kingsmen as a whole. I mean, I guess they do start over with help from the Statesmen, but it wasn't really like the point of the movie.
Like,
the point
it-
was just still, there's
he
a bad
won't
guy and we
be-
have to defeat them.
He won't be with her in the third.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
shot. Because it's just, like, look, what type of guys are going to see Kingsman? What is the Kingsman's
The guys who love
target
the scene that we're eventually going to talk about. The guys who are like, yeah.
That's my point. They want to see a guy. They want to see British young. They want to see Baby Driver in England, and they want they want him to like be a Casanova and get exotic women, and like they don't want to see him with the girl we can't remember her name because it's not her fault, but they just gave her not an interesting story.
Like, she was... Man, now I'm going to get into really I was just like, man, this misogynist, like, whatever, like, filmmaker, but now I'm like, you know, she was cute in the first one, but now that we get a closer look, I'm not totally convinced.
And I think that affected her acting the most.
I'm sorry, but if you're gonna be in movies, for me, you gotta be a little hotter.
See, I did kind
Traditionally,
I did kind of like the dinner scene.
I was about to say
Before
was
they fucking
that,
kill everyone from the Kingsmen.
Yeah, it was like 2 seconons long. That dinner scene.
And like that should have been
That was some, like, real
that should have been
cahoots.
stretched out, like that kind of struggle of her parents don't approve of me. I'm still this lower class guy, even though I've learned to be a Kingsman. I can't fool them.
That's very
and
true.
they solved
'Cause
that.
they're
In one,
royalty
they,
of the
fall,
country,
they solved that
yeah.
in one scene, even though it's a funny scene of her.
They solved it too quick. Good point.
Her feeding him everything. Like that should have been maybe a revelation later on, or maybe the dinner should have been later in the movie, and he's been stressing about it the entire time. There's a bunch of stuff that there was more stuff in the 3 hour and 40-minute cut of this movie. I mean,
yeah,
there's an hour worth of stuff that was left out of this movie.
There's
got to be something there that makes this a better movie.
It did not depict women well. Right? But, I mean, that's expected.
It showed
in this
them
kind
from
of
a strange angle.
A good example of that is when she's like, "Hey, I set this gorgeous brunch table," and he's like, "I gotta go to work." And she's like, "Okay, just go." And there's like,
I brought you a new dog
and everything. She's just like, "I've been waiting all day for you. I really need you to recognize me."
She's very damsel in distress in this movie.
Yeah, and they like, it's almost. I don't know. I mean, it just, they didn't, it just wasn't an interesting part of the movie. I'm not trying to.
I can kind of appreciate what they did. Like, they build on the first movie in a lot of interesting ways. Again, reintroducing all these characters. Again, like, the princess is, like, her girlfriend is kind of this throwaway joke at the end of the first Kingsman movie where she's like, "Why don't you come in here and fuck me in the butt," kind of thing.
Yeah, it is.
But it's a joke that, by the way, had more to do with... I mean, a lot of people were, like, mad about that joke, but I feel like they kind of doubled down on, like, oh, now she's, like, his girlfriend, kind of.
Wait, so is she someone that he meets in the first movie?
Yes.
She is the
Because
damsel
he's
in distress.
Because through the Kingsman, when he's introduced to this higher class.
She's being held...
She's a princess.
Right, yeah, she's the princess of a country. I don't remember, but basically, what was I going to say? As much as they lampoon, like, James Bond movies in this franchise, kind of, there's... that's something, like, that they'd never do in, like, a James Bond movie. Like, it's kind of subversive that she's like, oh, like... And I had sex with her after I saved the world, and then, like, cut to the second movie. Like,
and I made an honest woman out of her.
Yeah, right, she's my girlfriend. Like, it's also like James Bond wouldn't quietly call his girlfriend from, like, the toilet when he's attempting to seduce a woman. Like, is this okay? Is this gonna, like, ruin our relationship? Like, there's a lot of, like, interesting stuff that they bring to the table. But let's talk about that, because I want to get into that. There's basically 2 spies have to go on a mission, and they're competing to put a tracker into a woman's vagina.
Yeah. It's your classic 2 spies go into a situation and have to track a woman in her vagina.
Right.
The only way to act it has to be on your fingertip, and then you have to put it through a mucous membrane. Mm-hmm. So it can't fit in the nose, so it's got to go somewhere else.
I feel like there's just so much spy shit. Like, they could have knocked her out and... no, I don't want to go down that road. I'm just...
And if you look in my wardrobe, I have everything in my. He could have used this drug. He could have used that drug. I thought it was. I mean, it was, for lack of a better pun, it was pretty ballsy for them to go for that. Like, it was weird to me because sometimes they didn't hold back.
Yeah.
Like, content-wise, like, they swung for it. And for better or for worse, I appreciate someone swinging for the fence and trying to either pull off a joke or...
I can't say I've ever seen a scene like this in film before.
I can see why people are upset about this, but I really have to, like, tip my hat to... They really went for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and
they didn't have to render a 3D vagina, you know?
No,
but they did.
No, and
It
all
just kept going. Like, it was like...
You're waiting for that cut.
His,
to
like,
the next
hands on her
scene,
stomach, you get the point, like, the hand's going south. Like, we could have... Any other movie would have cut there and been like, he's gonna plant the tracker. We already got the innuendo before when he's like, where else is there a mucous membrane that I can plant the tracker? And then, yeah, they treat it like it's, like, the barrel of a gun. Like, you know, they do, like, those CGI scenes where it's, like...
Yeah, it was like
the
intro credit sequence to Josh Whedon X-Men film.
But it's a female body. And not only do we, like, see his, like, hand, like, 3D traveling, like, down her, like, stomach, and then we actually go inside the vagina, like we're on the fucking like magic school bus or some shit.
Yeah. That's
Going
very
through all the cells and shit as the tracker's being planted. It was so unnecessary.
They went there.
I don't think it helped, especially for a movie that was already too long at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
It's kind of like
You can cut like 30 seconds right there and start your workload of what am I going to cut from this movie.
it's really interesting. I kind of want to know the expected reaction. I want to know if people were supposed to laugh, or I want to know, like, was this like the final punchline of like a building joke? Because like I was laughing when it was kind of like there's only like one place we can like put it kind of thing, you know?
Or was it them being? Is it them just making the two spies go into a room and have to? Is it making fun of the spy trope of having to get the woman and put a tracker on, or like sleep with her to get information? Because I think that's probably what they were going for, and that's kind of what I like about it. I think it would have been better if he didn't make the FaceTime call. Like, if they're making the joke that, like, I'm the spy who doesn't care about women and is just going to, like, the mission is the only thing, and they're playing on all that, and now they're parodying all that, I say just go all the way forward, because you already are. The end goal is them doing that scene, so I don't think he needs to be, like, doing the checks and balances, that is, of seeing if it's PC enough by calling home and still telling the audience he's, quote-unquote, a good guy.
Well, I think he's like a grounded guy, and that's definitely like something they try to work a lot. Like, you know, like in any of the other guys who like tried out to be in the Kingsman in the first movie would have been like, yeah, whatever, I gotta do whatever. But yeah, again, he might just be like a grounded guy who's, I don't really know. There's a lot of subversion going on. There's like, they're trying to play to both sides again with that scene. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, you're spoofing James Bond, but like Matthew Vaughn, director, like, at what point are you kind of spoofing yourself, kind of? Like, you know, like when the finger's going in, like, it's kind of like, I don't know if this is James Bondy anymore.
It seemed like something that only the Kingsman would do, so.
I thought Michael Bay was bad, like, where it's kind of like, Michael Bay, like, you can't stay away from those fucking, like, upskirt shots or whatever in Transformers. Like, you fucking weirdo. But, like, then I saw this and I was like, we have a new, like, heir to the throne. Like,
we're actually going up the skirt.
Yeah, we're going up the skirt and into her body. I do love this whole fucking, like, just to catch up to this scene, I love the Pedro Pascal character. He's really great in this movie. Like, he's like Latino, but he's wearing like this kind of like Western swagger of a cowboy, but he's also kind of like Burt Reynolds too.
Yeah, it's very 70s Western. Again, I just think the writers were British and Googled America a bunch of times. Or not even Googled America. They just watched like 70s to 80s sitcoms.
That part I got from the trailers, because I think just the Kingsman itself, from what I could understand without having seen the first movie, it's sort of like a parody almost of like high British culture. Like, their weapons are like umbrellas and shit, and they're wearing top hats, and like all their stuff
like
has
Louis
to do
Vuitton,
with, like watches, and everything has to do with like fashion and all that. And then the Statesmen,
tailors,
their weapons are like, you know, baseball grenades and
I thought that was so dumb.
Stuff like that.
I thought it was cool.
Like that.
What, the baseball grenade?
I didn't like the Statesman at all.
I like the world building idea of it, like, oh, like there's people everywhere that kind of have like these secret organizations.
That's such a slippery slope. Okay, they go to China, and what is that one called? And what are they? What
the
are they?
Ricemen.
Exactly. And what are their weapons? Like, that is such a. What if they go anywhere else? They go to Mexico, and it's like, what? They're not. It's such a. That's not. They're not going to show us more of those spies,
right?
Because there's going to be
that's
extremely racist.
It's
that's going to get racist so quick.
Yeah, it's okay to kind of make fun of Americans, but anywhere else it might start to get a little.
I could have used more making fun of.
Oh yeah, no, same. No, but just to finish with the Pedro Pascal kind of thing.
Oh, sorry.
But they're giving them like the mission. It's kind of like, oh, I know his girlfriend. I just saw on Instagram she's going to like the Glasgow like EDM festival, and he's like, oh, are you ready? Like Pedro Pascal, whatever his character is. And he's like picking up girls at a rock and roll concert. That's my favorite kind of mission. Like, it's just like a funny subversion of like, we're going to like an EDM concert. He's like, picking up girls at an EDM or at a rock and roll show. But yeah, I kind of like the Statesman, but I'm kind of like, it's also kind of like, was this whole movie based around how do we fit Colin Firth back into this, and he died in America at like a church in Virginia. Who could have brought him back? Maybe it was a secret organization in America that's also in the South. Like, it was kind of like, was this whole plot created because they wanted Colin Firth back?
I think I think Channing Tatum probably said yes. And they were like, how do we get Channing Tatum in it? And also, we did not get peak Channing Tatum. We got fat. He was so out of shape compared to the rest of the movies he's in. I feel like he was in it for 2 days of filming.
We got 8 minutes of screen time, Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff in the trailer.
Why is he on the poster?
See?
Yeah. Right.
To sell.
There's a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff in the
right.
trailer with him that's cut out.
Really?
Like, I remember there's one scene where they're like looking at a bunch of stuff, and like Eggsy says something about like, oh, is that like this sounds really American or something, and Channing Tatum's like, huh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And then they ended like the last shot of the movie was Channing Tatum going into
Kingsman,
he had a suit on
Mm-hmm.
and he was going into the Kingsman place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I think that's just to show them working
working together?
I guess. Another one conglomerate organization. I also thought it was weird that like the Statesmen are like this big, like they stress throughout the entire movie the fact that they have so much more money than the Kingsmen do because liquor sales are so much more ridiculously crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they like even show us like the numbers of how much like they're worth on just a screen that's always playing in the background.
Right. And that's American kind of. It's
so,
the
like,
stock exchange.
But then they've only got 2 agents. Because literally when Channing Tatum goes down, they're like, well, we need some help over there. Eggsy and then a guy who's had like brain trauma recently. Do you want to go on this mission with them? Like they don't have like 2 other statesmen men that they could call in because there was a bunch of Kingsmen that just got killed by that blast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it was just Colin Firth and Eggsy the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, but there were more statesmen because you see him at the table with the glasses on.
So why didn't they help?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think they're like...
I
I mean, they fly these people back and forth to like Cambodia, and back to England, back to America. So they could have flown someone from the New York office or wherever else here to help them.
I think they like to do like...
They flew Pedro there. He was in the New York office at first. He was in the glasses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't
I thought they just didn't want to. I mean, they didn't need more characters.
They didn't.
in this
Yeah,
movie.
they really didn't.
They
shouldn't
didn't.
have,
But it
yeah.
was just a weird oversight in the writing.
I was reading that Channing Tatum originally had like a much bigger part. Like they were demoing footage at like CinemaCon or something like last year, where he was the one with like the lasso or the whip or something.
Yeah.
He didn't have any
But
fighting
then
scenes.
he had some sort of scheduling conflict, where he was like, my last movie had John Denver's "Take Me Home, Country Roads" in it, and no, that wasn't real. No.
I was like, dude, you're onto something.
No. No, yeah, I don't know. I think he just had scheduling conflict, and they're like, well, we filmed... Maybe we could just, like, fucking put him in a coma or something, Like, I think that was what they did.
Yeah. I mean, half his screen time was on ice. This is a cold brew coffee, guys.
Oh, all right.
Whoa.
Feel free to have some.
Yeah, we really haven't gone into the plot. I don't really think we need to, because there's just so much to cover. I'd really like to do more general thoughts. I wasn't totally... I feel like the biggest leap in logic was this whole thing developed around how do we get Colin Firth back into this? Because they even did a really bad job of like, why did Halle Berry and Channing Tatum save Colin Firth? Like, it was kind of implied like, oh, we know he's an agent of some sort, but they
had to make that call. Like they jump out of the helicopter and immediately start putting like their technology on his face. Like
even though there's like an entire church full of just like dead people, they kind of decide to they bring him back.
Was the whole butterfly thing, was that touched on in the first movie?
No.
Yeah, well, it's in his.
Was it?
It's
Okay.
in his office. I think his office is surrounded. It has like butterfly paraphernalia. I just think. Do we like Halle Berry?
Ginger ale?
She's not
even an alcohol. She's a mixer.
She's not. I thought she had like the most actual story around her character in terms of she's got a clear desire in the beginning of the movie.
Is she named Ginger in something else? In another Halle Berry movie? Is she Ginger in Swordfish or Ginger in a Bond movie?
I don't know.
I might be pulling that out of nowhere.
Ginger sounds like that sounds like a Halle Berry kind of name.
Good to see Halle Berry in movies again.
Good to see her in movies.
And she looked great.
Yeah, no, she did. It's also like, this isn't the worst use.
Technology sucks.
Dude, that camera's dead.
That one's dead. This one's too hot right now. Enjoy our luscious voices.
Yeah.
For now.
Oh, finally, I can let my...
Yeah.
I can unbutton my belt for a second.
Yeah, no, this is, I mean, I feel like she like won that Oscar for like Monsters Ball and then kind of never really did anything worth her time again. This is, I mean, it's fun to see her in this. It's definitely a better use of her time than other stuff.
She needs an hour-long, dark, episodic, anti-hero HBO show, and that'll revive her.
Right,
Yeah, that's what she needs to step up in. I liked her though, but she just, I mean, they almost make again, they were like, she was like, I would like to be appreciated by the men in this movie, and then at the end they're like, we're gonna almost appreciate you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked
didn't
her.
like that it was just like, oh, she's the female version of Mark Strong. Like, she's the American counterpart to like Mark Strong. Like that whole bond was just a little too cheesy and corny for me. Like,
I'm sure there was a love story there that they cut out.
We're the behind the scenes people, that we're the nerds and stuff. We don't ever get to go out in the field.
We both wear horn rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so jam-packed with little plot lines like that.
Like, you could tell there was some sort of chemistry that they wanted to do there, and then it was just never touched on again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about just Channing Tatum, his performance in like the little screen time he had in this.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad Pedro Pascal took over.
I looked it up. He's from Alabama, and then he moved to Mississippi at like age 6. But he really can't do like the Southern accent. Like, I don't know if he just never picked it up living down there.
Was it Texan? Was that the accent? No. That was
they were in Kentucky.
Okay,
I don't think they cared about what region.
No, yeah. They're just south.
Yeah.
Whatever, because he did a Southern-ish accent in Logan Lucky that was also awful.
Not great. Yeah.
I never saw Logan Lucky. Is it good though? Real quick.
How dare you? No.
It's great. It's good.
No, it's okay. It was lesser than
a
your
little below average.
yeah.
Than the hype. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really buy his accent in this either.
Yeah.
Like, Pedro Pascal's fine. Jeff Bridges can obviously do a Southern accent any goddamn day of the week. It's just how he talks.
Yeah, that was just Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really.
He was just kind of like muttering to himself the entire time.
I was like, that's perfect.
Just gargling whiskey in his mouth.
Yeah, so he was doing the reformed alcoholic thing.
I can do nothing for you, son.
That's good.
Thank you.
I liked him in that, but also he clearly had a scene about trying to quit drinking that was not in the movie.
Did he?
Yeah, because he was doing all he would drink but not swallow, and he would keep like dipping his fingers in the whiskey and putting it under his nose.
I didn't catch
pick
that
up
at
on
all.
that.
Yeah, I think it was like that was what they were trying
That's
to
probably
say.
part of that whole... They had a really weird message they were trying to get across about drugs and alcohol in this movie.
Yeah, can we talk?
Yeah.
How do we feel about that?
See, they started off pretty good because there's this whole satirical thing with... I was reading some sort of interview. I think when they were writing and shooting a lot of this, they still thought Hillary was going to win. And they were kind of like, let's not put like a Hillary character in there. Like, let's just like kind of just put some asshole like American kind of, guy in there. And that's kind of like what we have now in office. But like, I really thought they were like hitting it over the head, and it was really funny. And like his like secretary or whatever, who the woman in there, that was weird and sexist for me to say secretary. I'm sure she's somebody of power.
She's like chief of staff.
Really. Secretary of Defense.
Yeah. But he was just kind of like, let's win the war on drugs. Let's let everybody who's ever done drugs die. Like, it's really funny. It's really comical, like, view, like an extreme view.
I liked that.
That was funny. Then at the end, they were kind of like, there are all these really weird and mixed messages where, like, his one friend who was, like, stuck in, like, a coma or whatever, or, like, in a statue or whatever, he was like, man, I'm never going to touch that stuff again or whatever. And somebody else was like...
Was he doing meth?
No, he was just smoking weed. Remember how they zoom into the huge bag of, like, weed?
No, he was...
Was he? Was he doing
something
stronger
harder?
shit?
And they also, in the editing, like, they're talking about, like, weed, blah, 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 and then they get to meth, and he's got, like, one of those, like, fucking, like, crack pipes that he's, like, clearly bubbling something, like, not weed in there. I don't know if it was specifically meth, because I do not touch any of that stuff, but...
Oh, it's meth, for sure. Yeah. 100%. That's all
we
meth.
forgot to mention Blake is also a meth expert.
Yeah, you can also find me at Under the Bridge doing meth. Yeah.
/ Blake Rice. It's Facebook for meth users.
Yeah.
I'll be behind the 7-Eleven on 3rd. I'll be slamming my head into the wall as hard as I can.
Yep.
Pretty much.
I'll be grinding my teeth to chalk in a Denny's parking lot.
Yeah, the thing with him.
But they had a bunch of. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. But there was also something where Halle Berry was kind of just like when Channing Tatum woke up, and he was obviously.
They beat that over the head. That like
they were like
he's a good guy.
Right. But when he woke up, Halle Berry's like, hey, maybe stay off the drugs next time or something. It was something like
she said like, oh, stay with the drugs, like stick to drinking. That's
Stay
the
off.
part that I don't like.
They had so
coming
many
from a drinking podcast, but like
they had so many backhanded like fucking because the whole thing was supposed to be the satire of how like drinking and like Americans were kind of bad and drug use is and this whole war on drugs thing, and then at the end they completely like subvert it and they're just kind of like
I don't know how the movie felt about anything. Because then there's also
they glorify drinking the entire movie.
Right.
And then they also do the thing like with Julianne Moore's character of like she's always talking about I just want drugs to be treated like alcohol is in America.
Right.
Like I want that same legal status that they have, and I want to be able to peddle drugs in America the way that the statesman, whoever else can,
They even just have like a monologue where she's like, do you want sugar in your tea? It's like 12 times more addictive as cocaine or something. Yeah. So like they were on a steady path of the war on drugs can be won if they're all legalized. And then, I don't know.
But that's a weird message if that's the villain making that point.
But, no, exactly. I didn't know, like, we're in the first one, it was kind of like
Samuel Jackson.
have
the good guys be alcohol salesmen, that also further muddles that message. Like, who are we supposed to side with?
But message-wise, it always is, like, your villain should always have bigger eyes and see the world because they see the world differently than everyone, right? And a good villain is so complicated that you can, like a good villain, you should consider their plan.
Yeah.
Right? As an audience. So, that's kind of what they're trying to do there, I thought. I think they're trying to they're trying to be the smarter comedy action movie that makes it like, oh, wow, she makes a great point.
Right, and that's what they're trying to do with Samuel Jackson, where he's like, I'm the only one who's getting my hands dirty with this whole global warming thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like these people who they think they're doing the right thing. Again,
so maybe the next one will be like immigration, and it'll be the Mexican states.
They're doing they're
the Meximen,
the amigos, man.
They're going for it. The franchise is going for making that little commentary. I don't think they're totally clicking on it, but I like that they're going for it.
Yeah, they just kind of can't make up their mind by I don't know.
And they had a lot of lines that for me kind of ruin that message of like, if we legalize everything and allow people to make their own choices, and make like when you have the one guy, Eggsy's friend, who when he comes out of like paralysis is like, I'm never touching that stuff again. Like that's an anti-drug message right there.
Yeah.
And then you have the president's chief of staff. She like really tries to beat home the fact that like, this is like everyone in society, like this is everyday people. And then it comes out that she's doing drugs, and she's like, well, you try working like 18-hour days without chemical help.
I
and
thought
like
that
that's
was
a bad
so
line.
corny.
Like
yeah, I did not like that.
That's
at all.
That's borderline talking about like chemical dependency, and that's not the message you're supposed to be spinning with.
It was
like,
just
it's
pandering.
recreational drugs. Like it's not. She's talking about like, I need this to get through the day. Like that's the bad part of drugs that we don't want to be pushing if you're gonna make that message.
To me, that just felt like they were clearly trying to sell tickets to Kingsman 3 to all the high kids in the audience, being like, "That's right, I can't get through my shift at Pizza Hut without getting high either." Yes, Kingsman.
Or whatever the English version of Cheeky Nando's or whatever their place is over there.
What
is like the English fast food over there?
Oh yeah,
Cheeky Nando's. It's one of them, I think. I don't know what they sell, but
Cheeky Nando's.
That's something in England, right?
Never heard of it.
Never been either.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked about the first one was that it showed us a different side of England that your average action film fan from America doesn't know. And so going to the US, I thought it was just boring to me. Like
it was, yeah.
The settings that I liked in the movie were the beginning. I like the Kingsman. I like all the Kingsman stuff. I like the mansions. I like when it shows him with his friends, and I like that her evil the villain's base was in the jungle. I liked that a lot, that it was in the jungle. Even though she put her own thing on it, I dug the jungle. All the U.S. stuff, I just kind of was like, fast forward. Like,
it wasn't
I didn't
really
do it
a
for
good
me.
commentary on America. Like, I feel like you could have like either like been cynical about America through that vantage point, or you could have been. It could have had a stance on America, but it was just kind of like, oh, here's this tired stereotype of like cowboys and something that hasn't really been true since like the 20s.
But did they show us a ranch or it was just kind of in a distillery, right?
Yeah.
To me, it was just more underground spy place, and I couldn't tell you.
And then the missions didn't really take place in America. They got the statement like it should have been. Our mission has brought us to America, and the villain is somehow in America, and we have to do stuff in America. Not we're going to go back to England with the statesman, and then we're going to go to Switzerland or Germany, wherever they go for this ski place.
Good point.
And then they go to Cambodia. Like,
show the lead doing American things and how that is tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt like we weren't placed.
Make Eggsy eat like a fucking steak rare.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, something that's American.
That was your.
Eat a steak.
Yeah.
rare.
Show him shirtless eating like an undercooked piece of meat. Good American stuff.
Now I can kind of see how they wrote it like this. Put a cowboy hat on him and give him a lasso. Baseball. Grenade.
Cut to just like network execs just doing line after line. Like, love it. Yes.
And tell them that drugs are okay. You need it to get there an 18-hour
but
workday at the studio.
don't tell him that's okay. Don't tell him it's okay. Tell him it's okay again.
Oh, we fucked up. Okay, make drugs bad at the end, okay?
Shouldn't we talk about the plot or the characters? No.
It was weird that they like. It should have been like they just included a better message would have been like she was a weed dealer, like a global weed dealer, and she, spiked all the weed.
It got a little
It was
too
weird that they got into
complicated
meth,
with,
cocaine, because that's way beyond recreational drug use at that point. Like, you're pretty deep if you're into meth and cocaine. Ecstasy would have maybe worked. With
I guess
that
they were
message,
trying to show like extreme wealth. Like, what if somebody,
just dealt everything?
Yeah, dealt everything
I kind of like
in the
that.
world.
They cut a corner. What drugs? She just deals drugs.
Just drugs.
It just doesn't
She does
matter.
everything.
She's a drug dealer. All drugs.
It doesn't matter. Like, I feel like half the time they do a good job on cutting corners where we don't need to hear it, get to the juice, and other times they don't know when to do that. So it's tough when you're criticizing it to be like, no, they didn't do the right part of.
You're right. Yeah.
They didn't.
You could have gone too far into a cliche with just like she only sells weed or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I want to read this quote. I was reading this to Joe last night because I was reading a review, and they were talking about the when they put all the drug users in cages, which is just a weird visual in this movie.
It.
It's over the top.
Yeah, I kind of liked that.
But Danny DiPlacido from Forbes says, and then there's a pretty gruesome visual of drug users trapped in a nightmarish system of cages, like an industrial meat farm for humans. It should be disturbing, but it isn't really. It's just a bit weird for such a hyperactive, fun-filled adventure. It's like watching Indiana Jones masturbate or something. An adult element that feels like it belongs in another film.
I liked it, and just in that, it was like a stadium of people in individual cages, and just Wally stacking them. All of these people.
It was. I don't know.
I don't know what the point was because they weren't. It wasn't like in the first movie where people were turned into violent animals or whatever.
Right.
They're
that was
paralyzed.
so cool.
Like, how is that medical to like put paralyzed people that need help into like cages?
I mean, I
like
think,
let them stay in their homes.
I think that's kind of pretty. I don't know. I think that's just very Kingsman-y. Like it's kind
But
of.
I don't even know what it's satiring or what point we're getting.
It's just bad guy doing bad things.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was our government handling. That.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the president being like, "Oh, let's let all the drug dealers." That was a little too over the top for me.
I liked it if they finished with that kind. I like how he's taken out of office at the end, kind of, and we have like the drug user kind of becoming president or whatever. But I don't know. I thought that was like kind of reminiscent of kind of like what happens during like natural disasters. Like we put everybody in the Superdome when Hurricane Katrina comes, like that's where we move people. And I think they want to contain all these like drug users or whatever. So if they do all die, like it's this kind of like president cover up kind of thing. I think it works very well. I don't really know what that guy was expecting. Like, was Kingsman supposed to show a dark side of the world, or what did he want to see?
No, he was saying that the movie is so fun,
Right.
And then that's really dark to just be like, oh, we're putting people in cages who are paralyzed, and we're just stacking them up. Like he says, it's like a dark element from like a different movie. Like Kingsman is like it's dark in other ways. Like it's we're cursing, we're talking about sex, we're doing drugs and stuff. But then that kind of like darkness doesn't really fit in this movie, which is why he says it's like Indiana Jones masturbating. It's like taking an adult element from a different movie and making it in an Indiana Jones fun adventure-filled movie.
I feel like this guy should see the first movie because there's a really uncomfortable scene of Colin Firth going into a church, and then they test like the SIM card thing, and meanwhile they're in this church and everybody, it's like a white supremacist
It's
church.
the best scene of the movie.
Yeah, and everybody's like shouting like the N-word, a bunch of racial slurs, homophobic slurs.
Yeah.
It's out of control. And then they set off the SIM card thing, and Colin Firth ruthlessly kills like...
The bad guy pollutant is that it makes everyone incredibly violent.
Uh-huh.
And so, they test it on the people in the church, and it's just Colin Firth killing a bunch of people, and that's what sold me on the movie, because you're like you're watching and you're like, oh wow, he's killing all these people in a church, and he's killing good Christian folk.
It's totally out of left field, but I feel like that's why, like, that's, I guess, in a microcosm, like that scene is kind of like what Kingsman is. I feel like, I don't know. I don't get that the stacking the cages and people are like dancing and everything. Like, I did not think that was like dark at all, really.
Yeah,
I thought the dancing was funny.
The dancing bit worked.
Yeah.
It's like the one good thing they got out of his character.
It's in every contract for Channing Tatum.
He's got to dance.
Like at some point he's going to dance his underwear, right?
With his shirt off.
Channing Tatum's in the movie.
I mean, this Doomsday was a little more goofy than the first one, where people are dancing, you know, instead of ripping each other apart like zombies or something.
Their eyes pop.
Uh-huh.
And
the blood is kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was like when they had like the scene of like her eyes popping in like the stadium when she's in the whatever, just the random person that they show.
Uh-huh.
Then I don't know why there wasn't like a lot of blood splatter. When I'm really gonna harp on this, but I really hate it when they threw that dude in the grinder and it wasn't more like bloody. Like, if you're gonna go over the top, if you're gonna show someone like fingering a girl and we're gonna get like the tracker going up her vagina in 3D, then show me some blood splatter. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing when that was happening, because it was just like he's just going and then he's just disappearing.
Also, it's so easy to lift a man up and shove him down perfectly, like.
And you would have to push a little bit, like it's a grinder, but you've got to do a little bit of the work here. And then there should be some like bone crunching noises going on, and like
I think it's.
I don't think a human just goes in so easily and then just comes out like Play-Doh out of the other end.
It's kind of. I mean, there again, a lot of like everything that's happening in Cambodia base, I'm not really enjoying, and I think it kind of parts with like the aesthetic of Kingsman. But I do think the aesthetic of Kingsman is kind of like clean gore. Like it's not like Tarantino where you see like blood go everywhere or whatever. It's like a lot of just like you shoot somebody, and you don't. There's no like jib. There's no like 3D. It's just like you know, like it's very kind of, I don't know. That's at least what I got from the first movie and majority of this movie. Like, anytime they're shooting anyone, even if they like laser somebody in half with like the lasso, I mean, that would categorize like sides. But
it's pretty PG-13.
Yeah, but
Minus
it's also
the cursing.
R.
There's a lot of cursing.
But is this rated R?
Gore-wise, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sex-wise, no. We see a vagina from the
inside.
I
can't see them putting a 3D vagina in a PG-13 movie.
How many like 14-year-old boys are gonna watch this and be like, "But wait, where did they put it?" After the scene,
that just must be like some spy thing.
So
that
she
was
like
doing, right?
They put it in her belly button. Where did?
I thought it was gonna be a joke about like fingering her ass.
It'd be so great if they had a couple they had to seduce, and one of them had to put one in a dude's butt.
Yes, exactly.
Then they wouldn't. Then like they wouldn't have been pulling any punches.
It wouldn't have been a weird. Who can get in this girl's like pussy the quickest kind of like weird.
And that's what it.
It was like this weird kind of man competition where it was kind of like, which one of us?
I think they are just making that joke, because it is just like, we're gonna send the spy and he's gonna try to get in this woman's pants, and like, why? Because inside of her pants holds the key to the problem.
Right.
So I kind of do appreciate it if they're pointing a finger at that trope, right?
Yeah, and in the first Kingsman, I think one of their training things is they all have to go seduce this one woman, and even Roxy is there trying to seduce her too, and they all get like roofied or something, and then put on like the train tracks or whatever. But there is a scene like, don't kill Roxy, like the girl, like, you know, like she could have been on this mission too, and there could have been like this kind of like, well, I might try my hand at this too, you know, like maybe she.
It's almost more misogynist. Like,
not really.
the two hot girls have got to make out in this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. But at least it would have been. I don't know. I don't want to go down that
I mean,
hole.
they shouldn't have killed her. I will agree with that point,
Right.
100%. Because, like, not having seen the first movie, like, their relationship was the most interesting to me. Like, that he's got this girlfriend, and then, like, he's calling her, like, you know, you're the best friend or whatever. They're, like, sending, like, like winky faces and stuff through, like, the glasses, like, texting thing. Like, that's interesting to me.
And she's like, yeah, I'm just relaxing on my night off in, like, perfect, like, sexy schoolgirl outfit. Like...
And then, like, if you're going to kill her, like, I need more of a reaction from him to that.
Yeah.
No emotions in the spy game. Come on, man.
Hey,
You shut up
stiff
with those
upper lip.
emotions.
Remember your training. Oh, okay. Let's get back
Sorry,
to the plot.
I was gonna show some range. No.
I was gonna try to expand my reel.
Yeah.
No.
No. Did we like Colin Firth in this?
He comes. He kind of just looks like he does in like A Single Man. Like he's wearing the same glasses, kind of.
Yeah.
I really like him in the first movie. We get to see a more delirious version of him in this movie, and I do like the kind of he's fucking everything up, and he keeps seeing the butterflies. Is he to be trusted? He shoots the double agent. I'm kind of tired of the double agent thing, but I was like, all right, I'll go with it.
I'm done with the double agent.
Because there was a double
too.
agent in the first one too. So
Although I did like the element of not being able to trust him yet, and him noticing the double agent.
Yes.
So it was like this divide between Eggsy and
Same.
Harry is his name in the movie. Harry.
That was like the real genuine conflict in this movie. Like there was a lot of motivation to like save the world. At one point he was just like, my girlfriend's frozen in a drug coma, and it's like, remember how like everyone died too? That could also be motivation. I don't know.
Your best friend.
Your dog, who's like his real best friend in the first movie. Like there's like a really strong emotional bond with the dog, and this one is just kind of like, we bought a new one. Like,
A lot of dog references the whole way though.
Yeah,
The
there's
robot
the dog thing with
dogs.
Harry too.
Yeah,
That's
and
what brings Harry back. That was such a weird thing with like.
It must be big in the comic.
yeah.
I bet you the dog is big in the comic.
I wonder if this plot line was in the comic, or it was just kind of like, now we have this property and we've told the whole story. Now I can expand
do
on
whatever
it
with it,
without,
Yeah.
Because I know it's like a limited run or something, like the comic book.
I
So.
love how like when I just love the ridiculousness of like all the facilities that they're working in. Like the room that Harry is in is like central to like the meeting room that they're all in, so they're all just watching Harry in this room the entire time. And then the room also has the ability to flood with water and then drain. Like that's just natural.
How are you gonna
like
jog his betting? Oh, hit the flood button.
what have we used this room for?
Are
before?
all spies trained with like a flood, or do they all have flood rooms?
And then like the fact that they were like, well, we have to give him a traumatic experience to bring that back. So then they just randomly flood him.
So flood it, right? Yeah, flood it.
Like, did they not know whether he's had like a flood experience
Well,
or not?
flooding is
That's
a
from
thing.
his
It's
training
in
of
the-
Kingsman.
They trained him
Yeah,
by
they-
flooding
yeah.
the
Okay,
room.
all right. So I did miss that. So it made a little bit more sense. But it was just weird that they did that, and then they're like, "Well, there's nothing else we can do for it." Sorry, like, we hit the flood
They
button.
might
that's
actually
it.
say, we've done all we can.
Yeah.
We've flooded you. There's no hope.
And then like the last test of becoming a Kingsman is they give you a dog and you raise it or whatever, and they're like, all right, shoot your dog. And that's why that's like
And I think
traumatic
that's
for
cool.
him. Yeah. And then in the movie, Roxy does it, but he refuses to, and
They're blanks.
he doesn't become a Kingsman at first.
Yeah.
So does Harry kill his dog in the first one?
Who?
Harry, Colin Firth.
No one does because
no.
they're blanks in the gun. It's a trick.
Yeah, but when he was young, you have to assume that when he was younger, Colin Firth is already established in the Kingsman. Like he's been friends, yeah, whatever. He's like the old agent guy or whatever. Yeah.
Just because they have like the dead dog.
Right. there's this whole monologue in there where he's kind of like, did you like kill your fucking dog to get into the Kingsman? And he's like, no, like I shot a blank at him and then like I treasured him so much that I had him stuffed and put in here or whatever. So that's kind of like this emotional anchor in the first movie or whatever.
All right, so
but
that
yeah,
would have made a little bit more sense if I saw the first movie.
Yeah, I mean it still kind of stands on its own.
The general point gets across that he likes the dog. He had, I mean, you saw the stuffed dog, so you knew that there was a connection to Harry there. So the dog, you know, bringing a new dog of that breed kind of brought Harry back.
What was the Golden Circle?
Why was it called that? I have no idea.
The Golden Circle was just her emblem.
I guess.
I guess it's her terrorist organization that also is a drug cartel and is also a robot squad. And
Elton John fans.
Yeah.
And also she loves the 50s.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they weren't like... I don't know. I won't get into the... How long... Or you want to start wrapping up with some fingers?
Yeah, we can start wrapping up. I don't know how long we've been
some
going.
Some chicken
the
fingers?
Camera shut off. Let me get that Rotten Tomatoes.
I apologize if you're watching on YouTube. Both of our cameras cut out at some point.
Well, this one's going again now.
Oh, okay, that's good.
We're back up.
We're live again. Rotten Tomatoes on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes. The film has an approval rating of 49% based on 190 reviews with an average rating of 5.2 out of 10. The site's critical consensus reads, Kingsman, The Golden Circle offers more of everything that made its predecessor so much fun, but lacks the original's wild creative spark. I didn't see the original.
What did the original get on Rotten Tomatoes?
It was pretty
I think it was pretty well received all around.
Yeah. Do you guys read reviews before you see the movie or after? Sorry.
I try not to look at reviews, really.
At all?
I wouldn't read a full review before seeing a movie, probably.
Yeah, I try to go in clean slate.
I see general reception. I like reading the Rotten Tomatoes score. I really like the way the Rotten Tomatoes does like the critical consensus. Yeah, I usually don't read a full review before seeing the movie.
Yeah, I like to go in clean.
Blank.
Yeah.
Okay. And it got a 55?
49.
49.
The average rating was 5.2 out of 10.
It wasn't good.
So in fingers score, that's about a 2.5 fingers.
So that's like a 2.5.
Kim disconnected from the internet. Do you know what the first score was?
No, I can look it up if you want to start talking.
Go for it. All right. Well, I'll just get into my review. I've pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. Let me see. I thought the action was a little more coherent in this movie. Like that church scene in the first one was pretty cool, but you can tell like it's kind of like all filmed in slow motion and then it's sped up and it was just kind of, it was a little more choppy and it definitely had a lot more to do with like budget.
Is Mark Hamill in the first one?
Technology, yeah.
Playing what?
I don't remember.
Like voice acting or?
No, he's
the Joker.
They're
just watching Batman.
They still had to credit him.
Yeah. Great.
It's like 95% just Batman.
Great agent.
Star Wars was also on in the background. So.
Yeah. They changed channels.
Secret Service got a 74% from critics, 84% from the audience.
Gotcha.
Cool. Good for an action flick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Strong. Very
66
strong.
66 from top critics. It's a movie of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I thought they improved on the action in this one. I feel like Matthew Vaughn's trying to like get his own kind of special effects signature kind of directorial style in here. The Kingsman movie franchise, I don't know. It's just like this. I like the campiness and the silliness of the Bond films and how it double downs on them. And it kind of grounds it in like emotional stakes at some points at this movie. It doesn't, again, it's very on and off with everything that we're talking about during this review. It was hard to live up to the novelty of the first film. Like I can't imagine seeing that in theaters when it first came out. And I'm just trying to get out any other points. It was cool that they had access to like really cast whoever they wanted in this film.
Yeah.
There were so many people. I do think that was like a lame way for Merlin to go out to.
Singing poorly, John Denver.
Well, I mean, I like the singing scene. It was just kind of sucked that they have all this technology and then it's a landmine.
It's just weird to hear. Also, he had a weird accent in this movie because he has like almost like a Scottish accent in this, and that's not his natural accent. So I don't know why they didn't just. I mean, I guess in the comics he's a Scottish character.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
But he doesn't really do the Scottish accent well, and they could have just stuck with like regular English Mark Strong in this. And then it's also further weird to hear him sing John Denver with that accent. That's not even his natural accent, and it's not the natural accent for the song.
And what was he doing there?
He was really like Halle Berry complains this whole time about how she never gets to see the
man
field.
gets to go.
Yeah,
be
yeah.
an agent
And
first.
all of a sudden he gets to.
But also, he's like, it's like if Bond brought Q, and then before they storm the gates, Q's like, "Yo, I'm not supposed to." And that, you're right. He steps on a landmine. Like, this is the tech guy of the world, Merlin. He can't find a rock. They couldn't have found a rock 2 feet away.
Or if they were just like, stay here, we'll finish the mission, and we'll come back and we'll figure this out. Instead, he's like, no, I'm going to use myself to kill
take out, like,
He's like,
guys.
no, this is a sinking ship. I don't want to be in the third movie. Get me out of here.
Did you guys read the script, the vagina part? That was weird, right? I should get out of this.
Landmines. Landmines are good, though. That's good. That's good.
It would be like if James Bond like went into MI6 and grabbed like the IT guy and he's like, we gotta go. And he's like,
and then he
I don't know
dies.
if I'm trained for
I
this.
just explained the equipment to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never shot a gun before.
I just fixed the laser jet printer. I don't know if I'm
I give you the Wi-Fi password. You should write it down.
I just delete the porn off your computer. I don't know, man.
Yeah. And then he has like a martini in his name when they die, like 3 seconds into showing up.
But yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, again, with critics, I mean, I hear all the major criticisms of this movie, and I don't disagree, but I still really like this movie. I like it that it's not even comic booky, it's just, like, cartoony at some parts, and I really enjoy that. I'm gonna give it, I wish I could go back and, like, rate, like, the original one, because I'd give it a pretty high score, but this one I'm gonna give 3 out of 5 fingers.
3 out of 5.
What's up?
Not bad.
What's up?
I didn't really like this movie.
That's fair.
And I don't know if I would have liked it more if I saw the first one, especially if I had like seen the first one before like all the hype went out about the first one.
Right.
And I did kind of want to like this movie just because I thought the trailer was pretty decent. Like I think the contrast in the trailer between like the Kingsman and the Statesman kind of interested me a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, what would like the American version of like, you know, super spies in a comic book look like? But I don't think it really delivered on that. I don't think we really got a sense of who the Statesmen were, apart from what equipment do they use and what is their general outfit that they all kind of wear.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
Cowboy hats and bolo ties and shit. And I don't think a lot of the performances are too great in this. There's not really anyone that I can really point to as having like a really standout performances. I mean, I think Taron Egerton is all right.
Yeah.
In this,
he holds up the franchise.
I don't think he's given a whole lot to work with. I think the script is a lot of my problems with this because I think the fighting and all that stuff, it's really well done, even if it's not my cup of tea.
Right.
Like it's very technically done in its over stylization. Like there's nothing that you're like, oh, that's bad CG or that's poorly done. Even if you're like, I maybe wouldn't have wanted CG there, or maybe I wouldn't have wanted to like a lot of the fighting scenes. They really did a lot of like digital stitching with like, you know, he's punching a guy here and then we're going to spin like 360 degrees around him like we do in like the Matrix. Like every single like action scene. I felt like I was in like spectator mode in like a video game where you're just kind of like spinning around someone as they're fighting. Like I got a little sick of that after a while. And then I think it really failed to land on like a message, like especially with the drug thing. Like it was so back and forth. And then even just with like the characters, like they had an opportunity and maybe it got lost in that 3-hour, 40-minute cut, but they had an opportunity, at least in trying to sort of set up this storyline of like, I'm not ready to commit to my girlfriend yet. And then that's the resolution in the end. We get the point B that we get to of, all right, now I'm ready to marry my girlfriend. But we don't really get that progression. It's just kind of like, here's the character in the beginning of the movie. here's a character at the end, and then stuff just happens.
And
it's not really related to that theme at all, or any theme. It's just action stuff happening. And like that's what I need to take a movie to the next level. Like I can deal with zany, I can deal with over the top, I can deal with satire, but you still have to meet those basic requirements for me of like storytelling.
Especially when he was, to your point about the resolution in his relationship, he was like calling you, being like, "Hey, I respect our relationship," and she's like, "Okay, don't cheat on me." And he's like, "Ah!" Click, and he's like, "But I like her in the end."
Yeah, like that was a good conflict of like, I want to take this relationship to the next level, but I'm also conflicted by being very devoted to this like new work organization that I'm working for. And we get that one scene, and then she goes into like a drug coma, and we don't really get a resolution. And then they're just married at the end because he's happy that she's alive. And like that technically makes sense. Like, yeah, I'd probably propose to my girlfriend if she went into a drug coma and she's alive. I'd be glad that she's back. But that doesn't make sense in movie telling form. Like we need to be told that progression a little bit better.
It's very like the Big Sick, like if the movie just ended when she came out of the coma. Kind of.
Like,
it was just,
what was she experiencing when she's going through that coma?
Right.
Because she went into the coma mad at him in this movie, or whatever, the paralysis or whatever. And then she comes out and she's just like, "Oh yeah, we can get married now." Like I completely forgot about that.
Well, she doesn't have opinions. So
very true.
Right?
We killed the only other major female character, and the other one is an IT nerd who doesn't get to go in the field. But Mark Strong does.
I mean, but are women anything else but just 3D vaginas? Hi,
Kingsman says no.
Hi, I'm Matthew Vaughn. I'm the director of Kingsman.
So yeah, I would say it's definitely a below average movie for me. I think I'm going to go with 1.5 fingers, just because I think there's some stuff that they did wrong that I don't agree with. And I think the technical stuff is good, but the technical stuff is also just not for me. Like, I had a much more fun time watching like Atomic Blonde, which is almost a more boring movie, but the fight scenes are cooler in that, I think. Like I don't really like the digital stitching in this. I don't really like the over-the-top CG. I don't like the dogs and all that stuff in this. Like,
it's very easy to compare those two films because they're both like comic book
spy
like
movies.
Lesser-known comic book spy adaptations.
And they're over the top in their own ways. Like Atomic Blonde maybe goes over the top with like the cinematography, whereas this goes over the top with like what's actually happening on screen. So yeah, I'll go with 1.5 fingers for me.
I guess I'm up. The official review for the Kingsman Golden, the Kingsman Golden Company, which I think is a Hellboy sequel.
Is
Kingsman Golden Circle, but isn't the Golden Army Hellboy sequel?
Yeah, the Golden Army,
Same thing. I was rooting for it. I saw the Kingsman like I rented it on demand one night when I was home for Thanksgiving and saw it, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is cool." And then going into it, it just seemed rushed, and it seemed rushed. It seemed like they got a bunch of money and enough money to get celebrities, and they didn't know how to schedule celebrities, and everything just seemed thrown together with a green screen to me, Like, I liked that it still had a little bit of the sense where it did go for it and did commit to jokes or did commit to raunchy stuff or did commit to dark comedy or like violence. But to me, it's still kind of, it's because I guess its popularity now, it pulled some punches. Like to me, I appreciate, I'm not saying I'm a fan or not a fan of, I appreciate that put a tracker chip in the girl's vagina, but then I think the FaceTime call was just put in there so they could, so when they eventually, because they were scared of making that joke. And then they were like, well, we did say it's them putting their hands up, and I'm like, well, pick one or don't do it.
Right, commit.
And it seemed a little scared. I thought at some point the movie did just give us what we wanted. And I felt like that was half the movie. Like, I love how the movie started. It's what we want to see. It's him coming out of a dope shop. It's him looking cool. It's him in an action sequence right away. And then I was like, yes. Like, and then of course he takes a spy, plane, boat, car into the water. And I was like, this is still going. But then it got too busy. It got too colorful. It tried to be too extravagant. And I think it just needed to shrink. I think it just needed like half the characters and half the settings. And because I do think what's Targaryen? What's his name?
Aegon Targaryen.
What's his
Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
Taron Egerton. I think he's good, and I think they're doing the good blue collar spy. Like, and that's some of the gem of the first one. But I think we just kind of lost it, and them trying to make. I don't know. The Statesman. None of the Statesman stuff did it for me. The giant bottle as the building shape. I was like, we got it. Like, I know it's an action movie. I know it's silly, but it might as well have been Channing Tatum's face. I almost said dick. It should, but like, that didn't play for me. I like the spy stuff. I watched Kingsman because it's in England and we're seeing them in the suit shop and like their aftershave is a grenade. And I thought like, I thought it was cheap. Sorry to say it. I thought the robot dogs were lame, and I thought
very lame.
Yeah,
they only had Julianne Moore behind a green screen, and like I just kind of saw. I feel like I don't know. I think they got money, and the guys didn't know how to handle getting a lot of money. And they probably had a tight deadline.
I feel like there's
that
a pretty
Hollywood
quick turnaround from
that Hollywood
2015 was the first one.
Yeah,
there was really no screen time between Julianne Moore and like anybody from Kingsman either. Like Samuel Jackson, they have dinner with him, they have meetings with him, kind of, and it's kind of this cat and mouse. Like they kind of like go over like all these like
They just had to fly to Cambodia.
Right, yeah. They go over all these nuances of like, oh, did you read like older spy novels when you were a kid, kind of, and they get into like this whole like back and forth with him. But this is just kind of like, we see right then and then we killed her. We injected her with heroin.
Yeah, which I kind of liked. I was like, oh, cool, we're gonna see her get high on heroin.
Yeah,
which was great, and they did a really cool eye roll. That eye roll sold me on the whole flick. And I just think it just seemed like plug and play. Like it looked. They had a draft board of people, and I think they threw that up there first, and then they tried to connect a plot with Red Yarn.
Yeah.
What worked for me was, I guess, the lead. So a testament. Like, I still care about the lead. I don't want him to die. Colin Firth was all right, but I want to see him do cool Colin Firth spy stuff. So I wasn't really that into Like, I needed more of a turnaround. I wanted the him coming back because I believed that he was lost. I believed that Eggsy brought him back.
Right.
But then I wanted to get that nice moment of him really kicking ass, and did we get that? Oh, maybe
kind of
they're
at the
shooting.
end,
Fight in the end, but
Love the
it
umbrella.
it wasn't really like an exclamation point of like he's back. Like, he needs to be back because people are trying to kill him.
Right.
Well, also, it was like you knew watching. You're like, well, he can't die again.
Yeah.
You know, like get the scotch tape and hit him.
God, they're not gonna kill him again.
We also thought we wouldn't go inside a vagina. So.
Yeah, I love the umbrella. Like, I love when they were doing that in the fight scene. Don't like the briefcase gun.
That was a little
so doofy looking. Really dumb. But you can't. It's not fair to the movie to pick and choose those two.
Right, yeah.
You know, like, it didn't. You know what was fake as shit was the briefcase bullets. So all in all, acting wise, I don't think Channing Tatum was good. I didn't believe the accent on what's his name on the
Pedro Pascal.
On Pedro Pascal.
Oh, really?
Didn't like that. And so, and I think it was shot all right. And I thought the action sequences were cool. So for the Kingsman, the Golden Circle.
The Golden Circle.
I'm going to give it two
fingers.
like that.
Right up that 3D.
Yeah, right up. Oh, no.
Right placing that tracker.
It was easy.
So that'll come out to 2.167, which will round down to 2 fingers as the official rating for Kingsman.
Very cool.
And I think
Will there be a third?
I think so. I think they've already got Matthew Vaughn signed on, or at least rumored to direct the third.
Maybe
one.
they'll give it less of a budget, but there'll probably be a third.
Yeah, I think Kingsman 3 announced.
There needs to be less of a budget.
Yeah. Yeah, the budget is probably what hurt this movie a little bit.
I think so.
Yeah.
Hey, it's always harder to your next project is always the hardest.
But anyway, if those of you listening, if you agree or disagree, please feel free to leave a comment on SoundCloud, YouTube, or hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're listening or finding this link. We'd love to hear back from you. Blake, let's get some last links. Or we can plug your website as a whole, since that's where I found everything.
Sure,
about
yeah.
you. BlakeWinstonRice.com.
BlakeWinstonRice.com, the whitest domain name available. I need a third. I need some numerals after that.
Right,
and
yeah.
then I'm I'm the bad guy in a ski movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can check everything out there.
And then we have the comedy show. That's the one we definitely want to plug. That's October 14th.
That is, Saturday night, October 14th at the Triad Theater on 72nd and Broadway.
There we go.
Be telling stories.
So this will come out Thursday the 5th. So it'll be, when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it the day that it comes out, he'll be there next Saturday.
Pick
Which
up
is
tickets.
next Saturday.
Go check
from
it
now,
out.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can use promo code Laugh at Blake. Get some discounts.
There we go.
Ooh,
Just
there
to
it
miss out.
is.
I haven't even made that promo code yet, but in the future, hopefully the theater will.
I should probably do it by Thursday.
Yeah. Man, I'm so wired on this cold brew thing I bought that everybody's getting promo codes.
Paradise in a bottle.
Yeah.
Let's run through some links for us real quick, and then we'll get out of here. We're on Snapchat now. Make sure you guys find us there.
Oh.
At HMF Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube. We would really love some subscribers there. And click one of our playlists, put it on a loop, put it on mute, and play it, because we need 10,000 views so YouTube can pay us again, because they're a bunch of grimy bitches.
Whoa, wait, hold on. How? What?
YouTube, you can't monetize videos unless you have 10,000 lifetime views on YouTube now. So if you had monetized videos before, they're no longer monetized on YouTube.
Can you choose now to get stuff monetized?
If you have 10,000 lifetime views.
Yeah.
On all of your videos, or just every?
Just your channel.
If your channel has...
Yeah.
And how much money are you making?
I mean,
not a lot, right?
Not a lot, no.
Yeah.
But now
YouTube's
we're making
not our
zero.
big platform, but yeah.
Like, how much is... Tell me more.
Basically, they set up I can't even think of the word.
Like a threshold that you have to cross in order to... You can't monetize videos unless you have 10,000 lifetime views. It used to be...
Where we were monetizing...
You just proved that you were a real channel. You would link a website that you own the domain for.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Now you have to be like, oh, we've had this many people view our videos. We're not just putting... I mean, the whole thing is because they have this whole thing with advertisers. They don't want people being like, here's an ISIS, how to make a grenade video, and we're going to get advertiser money on it, because that happened once, and they're really scared about that.
That's next on the playlist.
Yeah. And we'll be reviewing that video next week.
So set one of those playlists on loop. We would love some more plays that we can get back to that. And also, you can't do external links on YouTube and the end screens unless you're at 10,000 lifetime views. Super lame. Not happy about it.
We talked about it at length in our
live episode.
Facebook Live that we just did, yeah.
So you can check that out as well. And then everything else you can pretty much find at howmanyfingerspodcasts.com. As always, we've got our merch for sale every week.
We got
koozies. We got stickers, we got t-shirts, and we got a package deal with all three for $11.99 at howmanyfingerspodcast.bigcartel.com. And I think that'll about do it for this week. Blake, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck at your... or break a leg.
Thank you.
Is that comedy official?
It is. It is, and I'm using it a lot more. Because there's things like... There's little... I don't know. Is that a quib, technically?
Yeah, I think so.
They're little... I don't know, quibs like that in the biz. Mm-hmm. And sometimes...
There's one right there.
The biz.
The biz. In real work, I'm half in it and half out.
Okay.
So in my career, I'm getting for the first time real opportunity right now. Mm-hmm. And the other part of the day, I bartend in a dive bar.
Right.
So I'm just I'm getting the opportunity, not making any money, but right going for it. And so I'm trying to embody it. So I'm saying break a leg now.
Nice.
Blake, I hope you break both legs.
Yeah, thank you. Great. I think they hated me.
They told me to break my leg.
They made me break my face.
Am I paralyzed?
Best of luck at your show, and we're gonna get out of here. So signing out for How Many Fingers, the podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
I'm Blake.
Block A.
Good.
See you next week.